All right, we'll give it a clap. All right. Welcome to Degens on the Block. We are on location today.
It's a beautiful place here.
Yeah, so we're at Mono, the agency Mono, run by Chris Lang. Is Michael Hart still around?
No, Jim Scott. Him and Jim Scott.
No, Jim Scott. He was the account guy. Oh. Michael Hart was the writer.
I haven't met him.
But Chris Lang is the other gentleman?
Chris Lang is the other founder. And we've also, I just ran into an old friend, Tim Blevins, who is extremely gifted copywriter. He's amazing. But that's all besides the point, because we're not here for those guys. As much as I'd love to hug it out. As long as I'd love to hug it out with Tim, we're here for Jake Webb and Jake Schneider.
Welcome.
This is really exciting. Give you a little input on how we tend to run this thing. So we try to run a 7-minute timer, which somewhat works, somewhat doesn't, but it keeps us in the track. So maybe I should.
Otherwise, we keep rambling.
We do. Yes. We keep rambling. So Degens on the Block is a podcast. Usually we have 4 people on the group, but we're down 2. We're half of the quad. Todd Geisler here, and I'm Glenn Gray.
Everyone's still alive, right?
Everyone's still alive. Nobody's got COVID. Nobody's dead. Normally we have David Burns and Manuel Jordan as well. Yep. So they'll be missed, but we've got some amazing guests, and we're really excited for this. Jake, I reached out to Jake Webb a little while ago. Yes. Jake's got a vintage. Is it vintage or just authentic?
That's a vintage app.
Okay,
it's
so
for vintage reselling.
So it's for vintage reselling, and I saw you in the Star Tribune, and I saw that you were at Mono, and I was like, well, shit, stars align. Yeah. I reached out, and you were excited to be here. Jake Schneider, is that, am I pronouncing that right?
It's Schneider and Schlieffen-Lagen. No, it's Schneider. Yeah.
Okay. So I met Jake at this blockchain group. What I can't remember what it's called. It's like Upchain.
It's called Offchain.
Offchain.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're gonna actually get Jonathan Hakeem and Matt B on a later episode.
Awesome.
So, but Jonathan Hakeem is based in China. So
if he's real.
If he's real.
Yeah. It's a pseudonym.
He's a.
And Jake and I were talking at the event, and you've got a kind of blockchain NFT. Company for arts and music. Right?
Yeah, it's a management firm that does management for everyone from music artists all the way down to visual artists, and then their implementation and kind of onboarding them into the Web3 world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. You work a lot in the music area.
Yeah. So I started out as the technology nerd that became the agent and manager for all kinds of artists and EDM. Jam bands, hip hop artists, stuff like that.
Yes, EDM,
indeed.
Todd, yes. Todd just came back. He went to the EDM concert.
I heard about this
thing.
EDC Orlando.
The rave in Orlando.
Fun.
Oh my God! Seeing the pictures and talk about fish out of water. He and David.
I feel like he'd fit right in. I saw him. And
how?
I was like, this dude goes
Unless
to
he's
EDM.
in a bear
I went
suit.
hard, man. I went hard. Come on now.
Man.
It looks like you might have some fun. I can tell by the swag right now.
Three-piece neon glow lights, outfits and stuff.
Oh, dude, I had a flamingo shirt on, didn't I? I was like, I gotta show you. We went viral. We got on the site, and it was 101,000 views.
Wow.
That's
awesome.
Anything I put out there, it's 3 views.
Right.
Yeah, that was insane.
Holy shit, that was fun.
I've got a buddy who is a lawyer, and he focuses on music and arts and stuff
What's
like that.
What's his name?
Mick Spence.
Okay, great name.
Great
name.
Yeah, so Mick
Amazing
Spence,
name.
Spence Law.
Cool.
He's great. I'll put you in touch with him
Sweet,
if you ever need legal advice with your clients.
Absolutely. It's whether or not the artist can afford it,
Yeah,
they're artists, but typically, it's great to have that person on call.
All right, and Jake, tell us, lead us in now with your company.
Yeah, so I have a company called Thrift Market. It is a e-commerce platform, mobile app that is made for vintage resellers around the world. Think of your eBays or your Grails, your StockX, of those type of platforms that allow thousands of sellers on there to sell their own goods. That's what Thrift Market allows, with an extra added layer of protection where we use AI photo authentication to actually verify the vintage t-shirt before it's uploaded onto the app. So a lot of times in vintage, what you will see is in the categories of vintage, at least 70 to 80% of those t-shirts are not real vintage t-shirts. They're reprints, they're replicas, or they're bootlegs. And they're selling them for the same prices and the same values of actual vintage t-shirts, which is taking away the real value of what these vintage t-shirts are. So what we are wanting to do is eliminate that problem before it even comes onto the app. So when uploading a t-shirt, you're going to take pictures of that shirt to upload it, but within those pictures, it's being tested with our AI technology. So it has to pass the check marks, and it has to pass the check before it can even get loaded. If it doesn't pass as authenticated, it will not be sold on our app.
Sure.
So
Is it user uploaded
Yes.
photos?
Yep.
And you have like different, you have to take multiple photos?
Yeah,
or-
so think
okay.
of cashing a check and how it makes you line it up the front and back.
Yep.
So I've bought some t-shirts. So what we're going to make you do is you're going to kind of lay it out. You have to take a picture of the tag. You're going to then fold it. And the stitching is really big in vintage. So making sure that this is a single stitch shirt, that's going to be a big indicator as well.
That's cool.
And then we want to get a far image of the graphic and a close-up image of the graphic, because the ink now versus the ink in the 90s, it's a big difference. And you can tell if you know, but if you don't know, you're going to be buying it because it looks the same, or it's the same graphic that they took.
Yeah, and the AI is kind of
scanning it.
Yeah, recognizing the patterns, recognizing
the stitching. It's recognizing the color contrast. It's recognizing the error or the year of the tags and things like that, to make sure that it is authenticated to be able to be sold on the app. And then once it's sold on our app, it will come into our authentication center. So it's like a two-step authentication process, because you could take a picture of a real shirt but send me a freaking Hanes blank white t-shirt.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, so we really want to provide that security for sellers and comfort for buyers, so there's not chargebacks. People that our sellers aren't ruining their name and their rep because maybe you sold a t-shirt that you didn't know was fake because it looked good, it looked real, and you paid the real price for it. So it's been going on in this whole cycle from this seller to this seller, and it's been fake the whole time.
Sorry. Yeah, that I didn't know. I didn't know.
Let's
it was
use
gonna
my
count down.
timer.
Yeah.
Hey,
Well,
Jake,
that's the
slide in just
start
a
of
little
it.
bit on that. Yeah,
All right,
there you
there
go.
you go.
Sorry to step on you. And actually, that doesn't even it doesn't come in on the recording. It's a separate track.
Oh,
It
okay.
sounded like we were getting backed up on by
Yeah,
a semi.
I didn't know it was going to be that loud.
Someone's T-shirt didn't authenticate,
Yeah, right.
and
That
Yeah,
should be
right.
the sound.
Screw
that
you.
should be the sound. Yeah, that should be the sound.
So one of the questions, or one of the thoughts that I had, because what we love doing on this podcast is trying to apply some of the technology to real world problems, right? So I mean, it sounds like you're into the AI, you're into everything, trying to authenticate it. But what is actually authenticating it? So what I'm trying to do you use anything like RFID tags or any kind of if there was something that you could attach, like an NFT, you could attach to an NFT.
Yeah.
So when you sell a T-shirt, the NFT goes with it, and that authenticates it, right? So then that one, the other thing that putting something like this on the blockchain is going to do is it's going to give it a transparency.
Yeah.
Right. So
Like
people
a Carfax almost.
like a
track
Carfax,
record,
right?
yeah.
People don't if they're selling knockoffs, they don't want to be in the public eye.
No,
right?
they don't want that track
so
record.
So if you have something, whether it's an RFID kind of tag, or
So you're saying so once the AI verifies it, authenticates it, then you might attach something to the app. When you receive it, you might attach something to it, and then you're like, oh, this is the real deal.
And so you want the IRL equivalent of what's
Right.
going on over
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, exactly.
And is that token then passed along to the next owner?
The
Is
next
that-
owner. Yeah, and I think that's a great idea. And what I'm thinking about, because I don't want to damage a vintage T-shirt.
Right.
That takes
Right.
away
You
the
don't want to
value.
pop that in there.
Yeah,
Sure,
doing something where we're putting something on a shirt, I am against, but I've been doing research, and there is a clear ink. What I'm thinking is we can almost geotag it with this type of ink and give it
Interesting.
almost a QR code pretty much to
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
that once it's sold, we put that, stamped on the inside in a certain spot. You take
That's
a
a great
picture of
idea.
that and you
Yeah.
can find it, but now it's not taking away from the image or the aesthetic of what that t-shirt looks
Right.
like, but you can track it as well.
Right.
And now you're pulling it into this blockchain and you see, Final Round Flame Vintage sold this t-shirt
Yeah.
in 2024 in
Right.
August, but then it got resold again in July by these guys. So being able to see that full track record
that. Yeah.
Yep.
gives credibility to the sellers. It
Yep.
gives credibility to the product, and for us, it's going to really solidify our platform as being the go-to place for authenticated items.
Yeah.
Especially within the vintage realm to start off. So
Yeah.
that's what our goal is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, because your brand is everything, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not distributing all these shirts.
No.
So you're authenticating. So you're kind of like the
Broker
Better
almost.
Homes and Garden, whatever seal of approval.
The
Yeah.
curator, if you will,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
And
the
I mean,
stamp
think of
of
the
approval.
values too. Once they're authenticated, and you have a system to do that, track that, and everyone knows that when they come to Thrift Market, they got the real deal.
And they know
just-
what
yeah.
the market is.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
you can really, as a seller, come to Thrift Market and be able to be like, okay, I just got this, 94 Michael Jordan shirt. What are other 94 shirts selling for? Now I can really price my pieces at a price that I know I'm going to sell it at, and it's not going to sit for months on hand. But also as sellers, or buyers, they know not to overspend. And that's a very, thin line, because for certain pieces, people don't care what they pay. If they want a certain vintage shirt, they're going to pay,
Right.
whether it's overpriced or not.
Yeah.
And I respect that. I will do it as well for certain shirts as well
Yeah.
if I see them. So we want to be able to have a market, but the market doesn't control the sale. Just being able to align it with it can help. But if you've got something and you're going to sit on it until it sells for that, by all means, do that as well.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, that's what people do with NFTs.
Yeah.
They sit and if they want to post it at a price,
Yeah.
they can.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody can come and buy it. And
There's that buy it now, kind
Yeah.
of the function and all that stuff.
right.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I'm sorry. I'm going to nerd out here. I'm curious, like on the details of like the AI authentication. Are you working with a certain platform that helps you in a database, or how does that work? Is that
Ooh,
Secret
I'm
sauce.
the nerd out. I'm nerd out.
Yeah, that's some secret sauce.
Yeah, I mean, no, don't tell me the
No, what
trade
I will,
secrets,
what
but
I will say is we've gathered millions of
Points of data.
photos from tags, from eras, from
Mm-hmm.
almost the early 1900s all the way to the beginning of the 2000s. Fruit of the Loom, Hanes, think about
Yeah.
it like
So you can get one of
Jersey
those
tags.
Mozart T-shirts,
Yeah.
and have it
totally.
authenticated.
Yeah, seriously, and some of those go.
Mozart toured 14.
Yeah. Mozart World
Yeah,
Tour,
Mozart.
European Tour.
Yeah, for sure. No, but I mean, there's value in those things. So we're just
Yeah.
trying to be able to understand like what it looks for, and what we're learning is that through this machine learning, it's finding things in the t-shirts that we're not even recognizing with the
That's
human
actually-
eye.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's going to be almost our biggest piece, because if they're able to authenticate it from places that we don't even recognize, then there's a real problem solved, because there's another big problem in vintage, which is called dry rot t-shirts. And
Nasty. Sounds gross.
Yeah.
and so
Sounds like after I wear a T-shirt.
and it is. And so it could be, and no, a lot of these shirts are brand new in the box. But
Yeah.
what happens is the ink in the 90s had an acid in it, and that acid reaches into the cotton of the t-shirts.
Okay.
And it tears
Starts
like
to
paper.
dissolve it.
It tears
Yeah.
like paper.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it could be a brand new wrap tee worth $5,000, but because it's dry rot, I put my arm in it and a
Yeah.
hole is.
oh
Yeah.
no.
So one of the
Interesting.
reasons Thrift Market came to being, because I got scammed on a $4,000 buy.
Oh.
It was during COVID, during the pandemic 2020, and I was selling a lot on Instagram, and I needed to get some inventory. Made a big,
Oh God.
You guys run up on each other with these
Isn't that ominous?
Whose is that? That's yours.
That's mine.
oh God.
oh, that's beautiful.
It's aggressive.
Well, it had to be intrusive, so we.
There we go.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of.
There we go.
That's okay. Let's Let's keep
I
going.
want to hear
here.
the rest of that.
Yeah. So no, I got scammed out of $4,000, man. It was I had been doing really good in sales. Like during the pandemic, vintage seen a peak where it doubled in its sales that year. From I think 20 billion to like $40 billion in sales. It was massive. So I was like, man, I need some inventory. I have a show. Well, live selling is really big in vintage, doing auction style selling on Instagram and different platforms. So I had a show coming up, wanted to get some inventory because that $4,000 that I spent on inventory could have been like 15. You know, would have been like 15.
Yeah.
In all honesty.
Yeah.
I get the shirts in the mail. 2 of them are dry rot. The other 3 are just like, one was like, they were bad.
Raggedy.
Bad. They were
Yeah.
so bad. And I'm just like, man, I'm pissed. But it's my fault. But the pictures when I bought them, they were real shirts. They were the real images of the real T-shirts. So how can I know that you were going to send me some fake T-shirts? And that's when it was like, dude, I was working in tech. I was working in tech, and I was like, oh, man, thrift market.
So
like, we're going to figure it out.
how would this work then? So if you're talking about selling something or using an invisible ink or some way to tag a shirt, you would have to have the shirt. So if you're authenticating somebody else's shirt in, Vancouver,
Well, it's a 2-step authentication process. So every shirt that sells through the app has to come into our authentication centers anyways.
It does.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to double to make sure that you're not doing that switch and grab.
Okay. All right.
And to make sure that, because we have not been able to figure out how to dry rot test it, and hopefully the technology will start to figure that out, but we haven't yet. So we still have to check for dry rot. That's something that still we can't let that slip out of our hands either.
Gotcha.
So it will still come into our hands, and we will be able to physically stamp, approve, and then get it to the buyer of the product.
Sure.
I mean, the best part about this thing, it seems like too, from my point of view, is that you get rid of all the nonsense, kind of early stages where you don't know what you're getting anyways. My cousin just bought a pair of Jordans the other day, and it took 2 weeks for
because of the DMs.
Right, exactly.
Bro, can you send this picture? Can you this picture? Are you sure this is real?
Yeah.
That conversation is so annoying. And
well, not to mention too, it's like how the amount of time it might take to go through eBay's authentication services.
Exactly.
It doesn't get there and get checked for 2 weeks. It'd be great if I knew right away, hey, I don't want to buy this because it didn't match up.
Yeah, it won't even make it on the app.
Right.
So now you're getting on this app with the security, knowing that everything has passed through the AI.
Right. Yeah.
And now I can just shop comfortably, knowing like
Shop comfortably.
I don't
like
have
that.
to. I don't have to go to the DMs and be like, hey, is this real?
Yeah.
Can you send me the measurements? Do you have any referrals? Can I get a legit check on you? What's your Instagram handle so I
Right.
can get a legit check on? Like you don't have to go
Yeah,
through that
yeah.
whole process. And now that's really what it is. If you don't have credible people that can vouch for you, it's so hard to sell because people are scared of getting scammed nowadays, and it's massive. So that's really what we want to be able to provide, and by having that track, within the tech, being able to track that T-shirt's point of sale history is literally like having a Carfax on all these vintage T-shirts.
Yeah. So I think So how would that work if he's going to be putting this thing on the blockchain, attaching an NFT? How would you kind of go about something like that?
I mean, it just kind of depends on how you want to approach it, how large it's going to be. I mean, for me, I guess I could talk about my experience doing that stuff. But a lot of it is just working with artists, figuring out, or on all kinds of different levels, and what the application is. Sometimes it's like it's a utility application. It provides access to like a club, right? So it's like if I work with whatever rapper, let's say Logic, and he puts he wants to put a track online, or he wants to put some just merchandise items, T-shirts, hoodies, and all that kind of stuff. You can authenticate it via like a 1-1 IRL. Here's what this is, So every token on here represents stuff out here.
Right.
You can also do things where you produce a bunch of tokens, and then those things could be burned down to create something to create one token in IRL that could be like an art project sent to you, and then when that happens, there's less inventory over here. There's just tons of ways to do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Had you ever done anything like with any of the artists where they might give away, if someone buys an NFT, they get behind the scenes,
Absolutely.
or like green room kind of thing.
And that's one of the.
Tell you what, before we get into that, let's take a break.
Yeah, let's take a break.
All right, we're going to take a break here. Degens on the Block. We'll be right back with Jake Schneider giving us some insight.
Hey, welcome back to Degens on the Block, where we talk blockchain, AI, and random topics. Not many random topics today. It's really focused and zeroed in on blockchain and AI.
Yeah.
And we were talking with Jake Webb, and Jake Schneider just left off. We were talking blockchain, and actually, I'm actually really curious, and I think maybe we were on that piece of you talking about kind of like how you're integrating music and NFTs kind of together, and that technology with the blockchain.
For
Love to
sure.
hear it.
So it's funny because kind of even further back than this, we kind of created my company, Madison House, back in the day, Madison House Ticketing. We created very much what is right now like the modern day fan club. You know, so
Okay.
you subscribe to a fan club for an artist. With that, you get that kind of, early on sale tickets. You get, certain teas, and you get discounts and stuff. So that's always, we kind of help create that. And so taking stuff like that onto the blockchain was a little bit easier for us because we understood what those VIP or enhanced experiences were.
Yep.
So it's really about like figuring out how to work with the ticketing company. If you're doing a ticket, for instance, and let's say you sell these NFTs online, there are ways to live validate your MetaMask account or whatever, so that you can show that you own that individual NFT, and that NFT is that your VIP ticket or your VIP experience.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of applications like that, and then with that, typically there's a handoff. Here's the actual exchange. Because you're not going to have security guards checking your MetaMask wallet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As you get in there. So there's a ton of applications. That is definitely one of them. I think that's one of the most obvious applications of music on blockchain. And I think that it's going to become more and more common. I think the problem right now is with blockchain and Web3 in general is just the mass adoption part isn't there. So how much do you want to take? How much time do you want to spend on these enhanced experience NFTs for this much payback on it? Or this much like even user experience. So that's the big thing right now is trying to do the stuff that where it doesn't feel like some sort of novelty, and that there's actual real world, I would say takeaway from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you foresee a time when people are actually like Blau is one of those artists where he's actually sold some of his music via NFT, where you get experience from the artist by owning the NFT.
Right, and I think that's to be part of that club. Like there's a band called the Disco Biscuits. Good friends of mine. They're a big like jam electronic band. I hold one of the Bisco Punks. And with that, every Tuesday night, I can go on the server, and DJ Brownie from the band will do a private DJ set for us on Discord. Yeah, and there's all kinds of great things like that. It's whether or not people get bored of it too soon, And so we're trying to figure out how do you provide the largest utility so that people want to keep on coming back and utilizing this technology and not just be like, hey, this is 5 extra steps for myself. I could care less,
Yeah.
And so but there's artists that are selling their music online too, like Grammatic has done this. Prob Cause has done a bunch of this as well, where they're selling, tracks. I mean, few of them, and this is one thing that when I first saw like the kind of the ability to kind of mash these two technologies together, arts and blockchain, it was like one of those things for me, like straight on was like royalties, right?
Yeah.
So
that's
creating a track and then figuring out how to like track those royalties, and it's pretty self-explanatory. It's blockchain online. There's numbers. You put them up. With smart contracts, this equals this. It just hasn't got there yet because there's too many people with too much money up above us.
For sure.
That don't want that integration to happen. And at the same time, like some of these artists, I believe it's their responsibility and their job to go out and force this stuff through. Just like when I worked with Bass Nectar, we forced through all these things to Ticketmaster that Ticketmaster wasn't providing before. or they're screwing you over on fees or whatever, and we want those fees to come down. Blau probably did the same thing with like, hey, I'm selling this way. Sorry, BMG, we don't care what you're saying. This is we have the numbers, power in numbers. You know, so
for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think even like songwriting splits is kind of cool.
Oh,
You
it's
know, like
exactly
that's
right.
you've
Well,
made the song, you've got the splits. You know, like it is what it is.
Here's a great like there's that stuff, and that's an amazing application. But another one, I don't know if you guys have ever heard the band Thievery Corporation. They're a big band out of DC, homies of mine. At the end of every show, I don't know, I'm just throwing these numbers out there, but at the end of every concert, they have to pay everyone out, right? But they've got artists from 7 different there's 7 different nationalities, right? So when you're paying an artist out in the States, there's all kinds of taxes, based upon work tax, visas and stuff like that. You got to pay your tour manager, your merch person. The merch person is back there. They have to give 25% of the merch sales to the house, right? And then they take 75%. There's just so many little numbers like that. And this stuff would make that stuff so easy because it's just numbers, right? Yeah. You push a button, and they've done it with a couple artists now where they've done these settlements in blockchain, and they push a button, and there you go. Everyone gets paid out the proper amount at the end of the night. You know? Yeah. So I think it's really good for. Just transparency like that, so make sure everyone's getting paid what they deserve to get paid. Right.
I'm thinking also like kind of the combo, like where you would say new merch, but it was like verified on the blockchain, and then I lost my train of thought. We're gonna cut this out.
Well, that was brilliant, Tom.
Yes.
We'll just cut right to that.
Huzzah!
Yeah. We must
What
have
was I thinking?
Well, there's like limited merch runs. I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah. So limited merch runs. So then that makes them, even though they're not vintage, they may be worth $2,000 a T-shirt.
Right.
That's exactly where I was going.
Yeah.
Like the limited edition.
Yeah, you're creating supply and demand, right?
Exactly.
There,
and so I could see that, even you may not be selling vintage, but you have these high dollar.
Yeah, there's definitely synergy there for sure.
Oh,
and whether or not that comes from him creating a token that is so widely used that like it would be dumb for me not to put them on my shirts. You know what I'm saying, or my merch. So there's all kinds of ways that could be applicable.
The other nice thing about attaching it to an NFT is that anytime if somebody else sells you sell them a T-shirt, they sell it, you get paid again.
Right.
So
absolutely.
So it keeps coming back.
The new wave royalty, basically.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. I mean, just like any NFT on OpenSea, although they've changed the creator royalties on OpenSea now, but where you can kind of select the royalty, but like every time it gets sold, the originator of it gets a small amount. But if you put the token on that particular shirt and you're like, oh, this artist really needs to have this tokenized, so that we can verify that it's this and it's this much money, but then every time it gets sold from person to person, the person that's created the token gets a small royalty. Maybe the
OG kickback,
OG for
that makes sense.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm sure there's obviously a fee for verification and all that kind of stuff, but the fact that if you're putting these NFTs, you're attaching an NFT to it, and then that person sells it to somebody else, that person sells it to somebody else. Each time it's sold, you get a small percentage.
Because we created that chain for it. That makes sense. Okay.
Yep, and even maybe you kick back some to the original artist.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing too that I was thinking about, just in the realm of authentication, is the right now there's a huge problem in North America, but everywhere globally, because you have that evil emperor, which is Ticketmaster, right? They own like 98% of the world's tickets. It's fucking crazy. It's gross. And then, a lot of times you go in these things and there's you buy a $150 ticket, there's $50 to $75 of the fees on top of it, which is just crazy. So we've kind of rebelled against that. My company and a band that I worked with called the String Cheese Incident, they actually ended up suing Ticketmaster. And
I feel like he's just making half these names up.
Totally.
Because everyone sounds as crazy as the next one.
There you go. So we did that so that basically, we're one of the reasons that artists have the ability to save 10% of the house for their fan club sales, right? But right now there's so much stuff going on with these fake tickets. So you buy something on, what is it? What's the local one? SeatGeek.
SeatGeek,
SeatGeek or whatever. There's a lot of BS tickets that go through that system,
Oh,
right?
man.
Really?
And so with the blockchain, you have the ability to be like, no, this is my contract address, or this is my token address, and then show them with your wallet, here it is. So if it could just be more further mass adopted,
Yeah.
you know,
And that's going to take time.
Yeah,
You
sure.
know, it's
Absolutely.
like everybody's got to keep pushing it, you know, and the nice thing about it is that it's a solid technology.
absolutely, yeah.
Right?
It
I mean,
makes
it's
sense.
And the
it's not
intentions are
going-
great,
yeah,
you
it
know.
makes
Yeah.
sense,
I mean,
yeah.
it's not like, you know, the metaverse where it had this like everybody was racing, you know, and buying property in the metaverse.
It'll
and then
still
the
get
bottom
there.
dropped
The
out.
metaverse, yeah.
I don't think
I
everybody's
still have
gonna,
my apartment there. Stop. My second wife.
I
Blockchain married.
I almost bought this plot in Sandbox.
Yeah.
It was like
I got rid of all mine, but-
$25,000 for a
Yeah.
little plot on Sandbox, but it was next to
The
close
apes-
to Snoop Dogg or whatever.
Next
Yeah.
to the,
Yeah.
like three of
Apes,
the
yeah.
top apes. Like, oh my God, get in this quick, you know?
Right.
This
Yeah,
property's
no.
gonna go. It's like,
Well, that was cool. I think, you know, we should try to put you in touch with Bad Hats. We had them on the show last
Yeah, that
year.
was
and
fun.
we were talking about the same thing.
that
but-
name could be made up too.
Yeah,
Bad Hats.
Bad. See, these names have been out there today.
String
Wow.
cheese incident. Bad Hats.
Yeah. But we had them on, and they're a kind of an indie pop group. We were talking about the same exact thing, you know, turning your tickets into NFTs,
Right.
and selling them and having an experience that
Right.
goes along with it. You can sell something with the VIP, backstage, you know,
Right.
early release of singles, all
Yep,
that kind of stuff.
absolutely.
So it's really cool that you're doing that actually, instead of just theorizing about.
Yeah,
you know,
that's the
what we're
thing is
doing.
we can actually apply it, and I've done it so many times. It's just after a while you're just like you want to know why you're doing it, you know, because enough people may or may not get involved with it. But it was really fun during the when the time that NFTs were selling well for all of us, you know. So
It's
Yeah.
going to come back.
Yeah,
It's
I
gonna
will.
come back.
Yeah, for sure.
Hopefully, we still have.
So
one-
is
one
it
waiting.
is it called Binary Horde?
So yeah, my company's called Binary Horde.
Okay.
Right now, I'm only managing 2 artists. You know, in the
Okay.
past, I've worked with at any given time, 10 to 50 artists. So right
Yeah.
now, I moved back to Minnesota right now recently. Kind of wanted to get out of the Colorado scene, which I've been in forever. And so yeah, and basically it's like there's a couple artists that are on my roster consistently. There's a DJ named Mux Mool that I worked with. We've released some stuff for him. And then, on top of that, I'm always looking for new clients. Then, new companies that want to figure out how to just integrate this technology with their art. That's
Yeah.
what I'm there for.
That's awesome.
Shoot us the links to some of your artists.
I will.
We'll post them with the video.
That'd be
Yeah.
awesome.
And same thing with you, Jake. We'll make sure to have links to your company and your
Thrift
site
Market,
as well.
yes.
Yeah, awesome.
And Jake Webb, you're going to be on WCCO tonight. So
Yeah, I
you guys
know.
out
Wow.
there won't see this, but you can see the replay of it
Yes,
when we get
yes.
this up.
Taking people into my world of vintage in the
I
bins,
love it.
man.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Now, are you
world.
going to get into anything else? Are you going to get into shoes, or are you?
Yeah, we're
All
working
right.
on all of that. I'm
Yeah.
just an expert in vintage, so that's what I want to start off with is T-shirts.
Mhm.
But yeah, by 2025, our goal is to hopefully have another 2 type of items, whether it be bags, wallets, shoes, watches. But being able to complete a full outfit and being able to get everything authenticated, I think could be very powerful just for the online consumer overall that is shopping higher end items, especially if they're for bags and purses and sneakers. I think are some really big areas where we could make a big impact in a positive way.
Yeah, I think in some of those, like Louis Vuitton, already has tagging and
Yeah, they started with the newer pieces, not
newer
older
pieces.
though.
Yeah,
so the
obviously, yeah.
newer
Yeah.
pieces definitely have tags in them now. Dior, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, all of them. But I mean, anything predated, 2015, 2016 probably. They
Yeah.
weren't doing tags
Right.
too much, that long ago. So there's a lot of fakes out there still that are pumping through the market with those
Yeah.
that we could help stop.
That's
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well that's pretty awesome. This segment's been really
This was awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
interesting
Yeah, absolutely.
and educational. That's really cool. So we'll definitely post some of your artists, and we'll get all your
Yeah.
stuff down.
Links
So
and-
Anybody got any old vintage collections of stuff sitting in their attics or
Ooh.
basements? Please feel free to reach out
He
to
wants
me.
to make money off it.
go.
Please
There you
feel
go.
free to reach
I
out to
can't
me.
tell
And they
you-
probably want to make a little money off
Yeah,
it too.
absolutely.
I will buy
Yeah.
all of it from you.
I can't
will.
tell you. Number one, my daughter is constantly thrifting.
Really?
And every time she goes out, my wife is going, I had that T-shirt.
Yeah.
God damn it, I had
Yep,
that.
why did
You
I
know,
get rid of this
it's
stuff?
That's
Yeah.
all she says.
Yep.
Anytime something new comes in, she has a comment about how she used to
it's-
have that.
Yeah, I used to be a frequent of my dad's closet back in the day. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's cool.
I'm learning not to let go of any of my stuff, and my kids can have it when they get older.
There
'Cause
you go.
It's a recycling closet, man. Nothing history always repeats itself.
Right.
It's nothing new under the sun. So
That's awesome.
yeah, it's
All right,
fun.
well, thanks very much. Let's wrap this segment up.
Yeah.
And Degens on the block with our new friends Jake Webb and Jake Schneider here at Mono Ad Agency. Thank you for the use of the space.
For sure.
And this has been.
I like this
a great
mobile
time.
setup. That's kind of cool.
I think it's great, assuming everything works.
Yeah.
If we get back home and it's all
And
black
nothing
screen
recorded,
and
yeah,
nothing
nothing
recorded,
recorded,
then I'll be a little upset. But
Yeah.
well, good luck on CCO.
Yeah, it should be fun. It should be fun. It should be interesting. I get to give 4 tips for vintage resellers this Sunday morning. So
Nice.
All right, yeah,
Oh,
but it's
yeah.
at 7 a.m. I will
7:30.
not. I will have to watch it on the replay.
I'm a 5 a.m. guy. I work at 5
Oh,
a.m.
man.
every day, man.
There
I
you
got
go.
2 little ones, so I need that time myself.
Oh,
I need
there you
that.
go.
I need that time. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. Thanks for
Thanks,
coming
gentlemen.
in and
Thank you.
everything.
Thank
So
you.
This has been
Yes.
great.
Keep the dream alive.
All right,
Yeah.
Degens on the block. We'll see you next time.